Back at it again. Bullheaded Podcast, NFL Week 5. A lot of good things happen to a certain amount of people, especially for me. I'll get started with my fantasy win yesterday with Marquise Brown. That was great. Got me down. I think I was down 25. Got me 30 points. I appreciate it. Zoo, what was your fantasy luck yesterday?
It was beautiful, man. It was so beautiful. It was must need, man. Must needed, man. I started off 1-3, man. 1-3. That's a slow start. If I go down 1-4, you got to pretty much win out to make playoffs. So I don't want to be in that situation. But this week, man, I made a big time trade to acquire my man Davante Adams. I acquired Davante Adams, and the boy dropped 30 points in his debut for the Zoo team, man. So he has lived up to the hype already, man. Who'd
you trade?
Oh, man, I traded Deebo Samuels and Cordarrelle Patterson. I traded two guys at their highest value.
Yeah, I would have taken
and pretty much I flipped them. They were both top 5 players based on points, based on scoring. So I flipped them at their peak. For Davante had a little off week. So I bought low on Davante Adams, and beautiful, man. He cashed in immediately, man. And that dude, and shout outs to Jalen Hurts, because after one half of football, he had 1 point. He was playing horrendous football, throwing picks, no tutties. But what did he do in the second half?
2 rushing.
Comeback victory. 2 rushing touchdowns, baby.
Yeah, he saved
Shout out to Jalen Hurts for saving my fantasy team. Shout out to Jalen Hurts.
That was a big comeback.
He was awful the first game.
Yeah.
The
Eagles defense stepped up. The Eagles defense stepped up
50 passing yards. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I know the Panthers are good on defense, but
not that good.
But but that's embarrassing. That's just low-key pretty embarrassing for the Panthers, man. Sam Darnold, that's embarrassing. But shout-outs to those two boys, man. Jalen Hurts and Davante Adams, man. The MVPs of my team, man. What were your MVPs, Pat?
Oh, man. I got to go with my Dynasty League, man. I got a Mike Williams, Justin Herbert combo, man. Putting up 82 alone. Putting up 82 alone. Same roster. I had Zeke and AB on that team, too. It was just a good week for me.
Boy. Yeah,
AB with 2 tutties. Zeke coming in clutch, 2 tutties, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. So it was a great week, man. Both my teams put up 180. And I had a DraftKings lineup that put up 210 this week. So definitely in the winner's bracket there. It was just a great week. My Bears won. Can't complain. Can't complain right now. So, yeah. I mean, I know that the Raiders situation, we might dive into that later, may have been, a cause for that loss. Maybe they were in shambles a bit mentally. But I'll take a win with Justin Fields getting his first passing touchdown of his career, man. So
yeah, that was a dart. That was a dart. I saw that.
It was a dart.
He only threw for like 100 passing yards, right? 120.
Yeah, he only threw for like 110.
Yeah, not much.
And then
he
didn't rush. All. They relied on their duo running back with Khalil Herbert and Damian Williams, who actually
shout out to Damian Williams.
Yeah, I picked him up.
I picked him up too. That would have been a sneaky little flex play. Damian Williams, Khalil Herbert, put up 75 yards. I think they combined for about 140 rushing. So hey, man, that's making up for Montgomery in a duo, and I can't ask for anything more, man. Fields not making mistakes. Against a solid defense, too. A solid defense in the Raiders.
Roquan Smith was everywhere.
He flies, man.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
He flies.
Yeah.
He flies. So, yeah, man, shout out Herbert. Shout out Mike Williams, man. That's in a dynasty league. That's going to be a duo for years to come. So I'm locked and loaded in that.
Justin Herbert. Yeah, your QB situation, you don't need to touch it anymore, man. With Justin Herbert,
nope.
Man,
and I got Burrow on the bench. On the bench.
Damn.
So
might have
looking
to flip him
him
for an asset. Yeah, flip him for an asset because Joe Burrow's young. He's a beast. He took that hit though, man. A little stupid. He
keeps getting.
That's dumb. That's dumb. That could have been what's going on.
A lot of injuries. I feel like Fields even had a scary moment there too, where it looked like he hyperextended his knee, and Dalton had to come in for a play, and then they finally rotated Fields back in. I thought the number 1 jersey in Chicago was cursed after that moment, man. I thought another number 1 was tearing his knee as they're progressing in Chicago. So thank God Fields is all right though.
Yeah. Kind of wanted to dive into week 5. We just kind of touched on fantasy a little bit, but a lot of I feel like every week I say statements, but this week in particular with the Buffalo Bills, I guess starting off, they kind of made a semi-statement in terms of we're the team in the AFC that you guys are going to have to come through. Not ready to hit the panic button yet on KC, but that was an interesting game just to see the physicality and more so of, I guess, the lethargic play of Patrick Mahomes, I would say. He didn't seem too into it as much as I thought he would be. And Josh Allen seemed like he was out for blood. So I kind of wanted to get the guys' thoughts on that game and other Week 5 games as well. And Zoo, I'm going to start with you, man. What did you think about that game in particular?
Man, this is not the Patrick Mahomes from last year, man.
Mm-mm.
He's off his game, especially with the turnovers. He's a dude that drops like 50 tutties, only 10 picks. But I feel like after these couple of weeks, he's going to hit 10 picks next week, man. Like, like the turnover issues right now, especially with that dreadful defense, you cannot put that dreadful defense back on the field.
No.
Like, it is embarrassing how bad they are. That secondary. They made Dawson Knox look like Gronkowski, man.
Barbecue
man,
chicken.
like, that dude flying out, man, dude, just running straight, man, wide open. Dawson Knox is a fantasy relevant player because of the Kansas City defense, man. Emmanuel Sanders have his biggest games. Like I just feel like the secondary is atrocious. Man, they can't stop, man. Like, they can't stop anything, man. They're probably the worst defense in football.
Yeah,
right
they
now.
probably are.
I think they are.
Absolutely.
I think they're the worst defense in football by points allowed. Like, it's embarrassing. And CEH's injury, even more. Like they lost their running back. Like, it was not a good day for the Chiefs. Like, man, they got 3 losses already. 3 losses.
Yeah.
My Lord, holy cow!
And
they
he
didn't
already
even have
matched
3
his
losses.
pick total.
Yeah. Oh my God, they didn't even have 3 losses last year.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ! Like, this Kansas City season's going downhill. But if they make the wild card, I'll put some money on the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like they can make a wild card run that nobody wants to face off. But winning the championship now, that probability is down because they're not going to get the bye now. You ain't going to get that freebie pass, that first seed pass, where pretty much you win 2 games, you win Super Bowl. So you ain't in that position right now. So Kansas City, man, they're the underdogs now, which is a crazy thing to say after they were talking about dynasty, going to back-to-back finals, man. Going to the conference finals 3 times in a row. That's in jeopardy this year.
Yeah. And maybe that Super Bowl defeat is still in their mind just as a team. I don't know if they just started second guessing their play calling a bit. I mean, it seems like to me, and I know I've said this a couple times, I think with the Ravens playing against the Chiefs as well, getting that win earlier on in the year, the defenses are starting to figure out how to slow down Tyreek Hill. And if you slow down Tyreek Hill, then you can double on Kelsey, right? Because if you can just have your safety over the top, not allowing Tyreek to get back there, behind his. Because I think they even said this. Chris Collinsworth might have mentioned. He goes, Tyreek just wants to get in a foot race with the cornerback and hope that he beats you, man, right? And then he hopes that there's no coverage over the top from a safety help, and that's where he gets all of his touchdowns, comebacks from Mahomes, just chucking it up there. Kelsey did score on Sunday night, but I don't know, man. The CEH injury was huge because, one, it caused Patrick Mahomes to throw 54 times. And in 54 throws, you're bound to at least make 1 or 2 mistakes, especially in the weather that they played in. So Josh Allen goes out on the road in one of the toughest places to play, has nearly a perfect game. I mean, he has 4 total touchdowns with 1 being rushing, 300 passing yards, no picks. And he's hurdling guys to seal games, man. I mean, he put the team on his back with a bunch of guys that, with Diggs not getting as involved, Emmanuel Sanders stepping up, Dawson Knox stepping up. I mean, I know it's against the Chiefs defense, and I don't think you can panic on them right now, but they may have to move on from Steve Spagnuolo or do something, because I know they're missing Chris Jones, who's a big of their run stopper and all that, but this defense is in shambles. I think we could say that the defense is completely in shambles, but the team overall, every game you watch with the Chiefs, man, whether it's in a game or just in a season, you can't count them out. So, they're 2-3 in a tough division. With the Chargers up top. Broncos falling, Raiders are probably going to fall.
I'm not worried about those 2 teams. One dude's without a head coach, and one dude's got Teddy Bridgewater as their QB. No issues at all.
Exactly. And they lost to the Steelers yesterday or on Sunday, the Broncos. So, it's tough to predict where KC will end up because, there is an extra game this year. I think we do have to take that into account. So they'll have more of an opportunity to come back. But I was impressed by the Bills, man. They pretty much have perfected their entire team up front 4, offensive line. I thought it was more of a statement game by the Bills than, how poorly the Chiefs played, even though that was the case. I was just so impressed with how Josh Allen's not just relying on Diggs either. I think that was a big thing.
He spreads the ball around.
Yeah, he's starting. His reading the defense is better, even if they are atrocious on that side of the ball.
Man, just think about it. Game 1 against the Steelers, they looked awful.
Yeah,
they pulled a complete 360, man. They look like a beast now. They look like the best team in football right now. After beating the Chiefs, like, it wasn't even a close game. The game got boring. I was just like, what the heck, man? Like, this is a blowout against Kansas City. Yeah. And at that moment, I didn't even think the Chiefs had a chance to make a comeback, even though I know Mahomes is the king of punt backs. I just didn't feel it in that game. So, my Lord, Buffalo Bills with a butt whooping. Pretty much revenge after that playoff game last year, man. Pretty much redemption right now. And they don't want that to repeat.
No, not at all. I mean,
you know what?
Go ahead, John.
Okay. You know what I think also with the Bills, what makes them kind of interesting is like, I know their whole stuff is like they have the star of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, but because I don't follow the Bills, they don't have a lot of like superstar guys like someone like the Chiefs do. Because even on defense, like with the Chiefs, they have Matthew and they have Chris Jones. And they have some guys that you kind of recognize. But with the Bills, it's a lot of guys that I guess they just drafted well. Like I can't really name anybody on their front four, linebackers really. I know they have I think Tre'Davious White's or one corner.
He's their biggest name.
Yeah. So it's like they got a lot of guys by committee that makes them a little bit more well balanced. And like I said, the progression of Josh Allen, I think it's just kind of weird. I think Josh Allen could be a player that he's in the AFC East, and I guess it depends on how Mac Jones and Tua ends up panning out. But he could be a guy that could really put a stranglehold on at least that side of the bracket with the AFC. And I think, like you said, like how they lost last year, I think that was a motivating factor. I don't want to count out KC because they have Patrick, but yeah, they got to get I didn't when you said Spagnuolo, I didn't know he was still coaching. I did not know he was a defensive coordinator for them. He's been there since like the Giants DC way back in the day. Like
he learned under Tom Coughlin, I want to say, and I feel like because he was kind of the defensive coach there for a while when the Giants were dominant on the defensive side of the ball, and they hired him kind of hoping that with the Chiefs offense, man, you just hope that your defense can be about 15th to 17th in the league. Middle of the pack, just and keeps you under giving up 24 points a game. That's all you hope because your team can put up 30, on most nights, right? And some would say the weather and the turnovers last night probably caused a lot of that lower scoring game on the KC side. But yeah, man, Spagnuolo was just staring out at the field like I don't even know what to do anymore. And I'm just watching this guy as they got the graphics up. I think they haven't given up less than 28 points this year. And I think that was only one game, and the others were all over. The others were all over 34. So I mean, it's been a rough year for the Chiefs. They have to do something, man, or else their offense can only carry you so far. Because if you're giving up 40 a game in rainy weather at that, come on, man, you can't let that happen.
It's beautiful though. It's such a beautiful defense for fantasy football.
Oh, of course.
Start all your boys against the Chiefs, baby.
Of course.
Prime time matchups, man. You're gonna get buckets, man. It's so beautiful.
But Zoo, I do got to ask you though, competing with Justin Herbert in that division, how do you see that one panning out? Like, what do you think the Chargers are legit?
Do you think I was telling you last week, man. My God, that team offensively is so talented. It is so that O-line with Justin Herbert, those weapons, that running back. I was low key. I was a hater on Eckler this year, man. I gotta eat my words, man. He's a first round pick, man. I said it was a second round pick. He's playing like our first round pick, man. He's an RB1. Dude might look small, but dude, the dude's got quads as big as my head, man. The dude's ripped, bigger, man. He is ripped. He is freaking ripped for like a smaller running back, man. And that workload right now, he getting tutties, man. But he get a hat trick, man. 3 tutties? 2 or 3 tutties? Right?
I think he had 2. I think he had 2.
2 tutties,
he fell in onto the last one. He didn't want to score too early.
I remember the Browns players are pushing him in.
But this isn't Aaron Rodgers. It's Baker Mayfield. And no hate on Baker because he actually had a pretty good game. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over. At 300, plus passing yards, couple touchdowns. Their running game was working. Kareem Hunt out of the backfield.
Their running game always working, man. It is ridiculous, man.
It is.
Oh my!
No matter who they play,
they got 2 guys going for like pretty much 100 yards in a tutty a game right now. It's like ridiculous how efficient they are. I'm just like Baker Mayfield, man. You lucky son of a gun, man, because you'll be irrelevant if you weren't on the Browns.
Yeah, I agree.
That team, it's just so loaded, man.
Stacked.
They need Jarvis back, though, man. The fact that
Odell sucks. What?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's just. I don't think he. I just don't think he has the relationship with Baker, dude.
They got no chemistry. Like the numbers he's putting up, like those are waivable numbers, man. He's a dude you have on your bench and be like, I got him on my bench because his name Odell Beckham. When I see you drop a 2.7, I want to wave your ass. So I don't know, ODB, man. Like he got to be putting up some numbers. He already got his money, so I don't think he really cares. But man, he better disappointment, man. disappointment. And he's the wide receiver 1. No Jarvis Landry. He can step up in this situation. And he's not stepping up like David Njoku is the dude stepping up, man.
Off.
Like I was like, Odell. Where's the Giants Odell, man? I miss that guy.
Yeah. You made it way more exciting to watch the Giants, let alone probably even more so on the Browns as well. They haven't had a deep threat guy since Josh Gordon that 1 year. And we all know how that turned out. So let's hope they could turn it around and at least stay, because they're 3-2 right now. I think they're tied with the Bengals, who, another quick shout out, man. They are in every single game that they play. Because
that kicker performance, though.
Oh my goodness. It was a total of 4 for 9 in field goals in that game. Mason Crosby. Hey, the Bengals guy, I thought he even made it in overtime. He was celebrating.
He pulled a swaggy P, man. He pulled a swaggy P.
But look, man, they're legit. I think Jamar Chase is, he
what the heck? This dude gets a touchdown every game, man.
He did, he didn't match
like rookie of the year. Yeah.
I mean, because Devontae put up like 11 and 200. I think Jamar had like 6 for 160 and a touchdown. I mean, it was great wide receiver battle there. It's just that Burrow ended up making a couple mistakes, and the field goals definitely made the difference in that game. I mean, that alone right there, that game's not going to overtime, which whoever would have made more kicks. But that MVP goes to Mason Crosby there, man. He scored 13 of their points.
Man, but it was embarrassing. Like, that game was embarrassing for kickers, but that weekend was embarrassing for kickers, man.
It was.
Missed field goals and extra points, man. I don't know how many missed extra points I saw in red zone, man. It was insane. Like, at one moment, for like a 30-minute span, I saw like 3 missed like extra points. I'm just like, damn, it's embarrassing. And you can't even blame the weather, man. Like, it was a sunny day out this side, man. No wind at all. I'm just like, missing extra points, man.
There were 12
another missed field goal, Rodrigo Blankenship, man. Missed the game-winning field goal.
Hey, that and the deciding factor in that game on last night was for sure Calais Campbell and the 4:30 mark just coming through like 6'8". I mean, he's huge, and he just blocks that kick like with ease, and then allows Lamar to do Lamar, man, setting records, probably with his best game of his career statistically. By far,
for like 80%, like 88% or whatever.
Yes, he was 7 of 43, 440 with 4 touchdowns,
passing yards,
and then he had 60 rushing yards too to keep him in the game. He gets those 3rd and 3s all the time, man. Just 6-7 yards. It's ridiculous to watch. And the Colts, man, just being the Colts, man, choking games.
How many days have they choked this year, man?
And Carson had a good game too.
He had 400 yards too, right?
He had 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got his 2 best weapons involved in Taylor and Michael Pittman.
Shout out to Michael Pittman.
Yeah,
he's a good flex guy.
Yeah, he is a good flex guy. But I mean, it's just how much can you rely? I mean, that defense was the reason they lost that game, and the kicks, obviously. But just the Colts being the Colts, man. There's nothing else to say about it. Wentz is just, I don't know. Too streaky to be
if he
lead
wasn't
consistently.
If he wasn't so injured, like say for instance, he probably would still be with the Eagles, but if he wasn't as injured, I think maybe his progression, because that's probably hurting his progression too. Because I think that I guess it was his second year where he had that crazy year where he could have been the MVP, or whatever. Like, I think that was more of an anomaly, and it didn't really help with his progression as a quarterback. With him being injured all the time, I just think he's still kind of in the space of maybe like, I don't know how many years he's been in the league, but he's still kind of in that young quarterback's progression. I think with the Colts, if he can stay healthy, he can be a good asset. But I said, I think it's all about Lamar. They're going to be an interesting team just solely off the fact of Rashad Bateman. I think if their first round receiver, if he comes out and is like as good as they said he was in camp, Marquise is starting to get to a level where he is not a number 1 guy, but he's getting close. Like, he's their guy. Like, Mark Andrews is their number 1 guy, I feel like. But Marquise is right there. And I feel like he's always, like, it's happened. And the only reason why I think this way is because I have him on fantasy. Like, he had that one game with Detroit where he had those drops. And it was just like, come on, bro. Like, how do you drop all those passes? But outside of that game, he's had consistent high-scoring games. And I think it's because Lamar trusts him with go routes, sluggo routes, all these different types of routes. He can run everything. The only thing about him is he's just small. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think if Rashad Bateman comes in and actually starts, I guess, being the number 1 guy or being close to the number 1 guy, that's going to open him up even more. And Mark Andrews up even more, and open that passing attack up. Because I think it's pretty clear with Lamar, the thing that people don't like is I think it's just really mechanics, and he doesn't have a lot of shot plays. But he's efficient. Yeah, in ball security. And he has sometimes where he's running around, it looks like, you'd rather him slide than like, maybe take on. Because for him to be as slender as he is, like he gets hit a pretty good amount. He gets up. So it's like
he never gets injured, man.
Yeah, he's been pretty healthy for the most part.
Knock on wood.
Iron Man. Yeah. He's been Iron Man.
So I'm kind of interested to see what that addition of that other receiver, because that running back I think is disposable. They got like 2 or 3 guys or whatever. Like
that running back situation, man. I don't know who starts
committee.
Week, man.
It's committee. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I didn't get any of them because I was real close to trading for Tyson, and then I think maybe a week later he was like, didn't even play. I was like,
nope.
That's the biggest sell high ever, man.
Yeah, because he had that big game against the Vegas. I think the Raiders. He was killing in that game, and I was like, oh man. And then because I was desperate for a back because at that time Gibson wasn't doing anything, and I can't remember who else I had. I traded away. But yeah, I think the Ravens are going to be interesting. I think another team that I would put on a let's see if they tank for the rest of the season is the Seahawks. With Russell's injury. I mean, I know Geno came in and had a couple of plays, but once they game plan for him, I think that's going to be, all she wrote on that little story. So I think their back situation, they're playing a bunch of different guys. Their defense is not as good. They traded all those picks for Jamal Adams. Like, what's funny about Jamal Adams? He's a great player, but he's more of a box guy. He's not a like rangy breaking up passes in the backfield type of guy, which I would like. I didn't really watch his game, but like all the stuff they gave up for him, I thought he was like a complete safety in terms of, okay, he can coverage in the box, like more like how Earl Thomas was. And he's a good player, but I just think his pass coverage and stuff. I guess the Rams do that to a lot of people, but he just didn't look good covering as much as I thought they would. So that's a team I'm kind of, I don't know what they're going to do.
Them and
Russell's going to be out for
Giants
a while.
too. Giants, similar situation, man. I mean, not that they had any more hopeful, outcomes like maybe the Seahawks might have if everybody stayed healthy. But look, man, they lose. They're pretty much their 3 best players in the game. Daniel Jones out, Saquon out, and Kenny Galladay got injured as well. God. Absolutely brutal.
QB1, wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
an RB1. And an RB1 at its finest. I mean, because Saquon had a nice game back last week, and then he comes back, and who knows if he'll be out. I don't know if they've announced it how long he'll be out, but it did not look good. Let's just put it that way. So there's a couple teams though that are dealing with injuries.
But a star might have been born in New York in Kadarius Toney.
That's true.
He was cooking.
Oh my
he
Lord. He looked fantastic, man. His speed and route running, waiver wire pickup.
Absolutely. Yeah. If he's not gone already in your leagues, get him.
Yeah, a guy got him last week. I totally forgot about the 9:30 game with Atlanta and New York. Somebody got him like right around I think that time when New York and Atlanta was playing. Speaking of a guy that I've been glad that had an awakening was Kyle Pitts.
Absolutely.
God, I was like, he was 2 more games for me ready to put him on the likely to trade because he had some stinkers before that, and I don't even think it was more so his fault. It was just Matt is not looking his way because he was looking at Ridley and the emergence of
Cordarrelle.
Patterson. The emergence of Patterson. So I feel like that's part of the reason why. But when I saw like literally going against the Jets, and he was going to be all those guys were going to be like out.
No Calvin Ridley, all those targets,
and he popped off 9 for 120 and a tutty. Can't ask for more.
Week. Yeah,
especially from a tight end, man. But man, speaking of Atlanta, man, Cordarrelle Patterson. You guys think this guy's a legit? He's gonna be like a fantasy superstar, man. Because he's putting up some numbers, man. Because they use him as an RB and wide receiver, man. Like
legitimate flex.
Yeah, like he legitimately is the definition of a flex. And the amount of carries he's getting, it's not like 8 carries. Well, he's getting double-digit carries because everybody knows Mike Davis. He's a definition of average Joe, man. Like nobody wants Mike Davis as starting RB. Like Cordarrelle Patterson brings a little flash, man, a little speed, man, versatility in the pass-catching game. So, my God, this dude looking good. And every time I see him play, he looks like a football player, man. I feel like he can do a lot on the football field, man. Like, the guy is a physical, specimen, man.
I don't know if I would trade for him. But, if I had him on my team already, I drafted him or picked him up or whatever, I'm consistently playing him in my flex position, unless you have another legitimate option that has a good matchup. they rely on him. I mean, he's up in their top 3 offensive options, right? Up there with Ridley being healthy and Pitts. And you could argue that obviously Cordarrelle through the first 4 weeks, maybe not this past, was a higher option than Kyle Pitts was. So he's legit. He's probably going to guarantee you nearly a touchdown a game. If not, he's giving you 50 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards on 4 or 5 catches. And right there, that gives you 14 points in a full point PPR. And at the flex, I mean, sometimes you can't get any better than that. So if he can consistently do that, and I'd give it maybe another 2 weeks, I'm locking him in my starting fantasy lineup for the rest of the year. Especially because they're just fighting and they'll be down in a lot of games.
They're going to be down in every game, man.
So, and knowing that they can't really rely on Mike Davis, Cordarrelle's going to get all the plays whenever they're down. They just happen to be up against the Jets, who I will say mounted a semi-decent comeback attempting, but
Yo, Sean, what's wrong with your Jets, man? Can't even beat the Falcons.
They were in London, man.
Can't even beat the Falcons, man. Team with 1 win, man. They got 1
win. in
win.
London, eating the cuisine and sightseeing, man. They wouldn't worry about no freaking football game. I know I would. If I was playing for the Jets, I wouldn't care about no football game right now. I'd be sightseeing and getting into the hotel late at night. I ain't care. Like, season's pretty much, I mean, they are professionals, so they do get paid to be professional and play the game to the best of their ability. But mentally, they're probably shot. Like, come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's Zach Wilson right now, man. He's throwing a pick a game, man. Minimum. A pick a game.
Yeah. It's because I think he trusts his arm too much.
He does.
He trusts his arm way too much. And in the NFL, don't matter who you are, unless you're Brady, because you've been playing for 20 some odd years, you can't trust your arm so much to where you can just throw it wherever. I still think, though, he makes out of all the rookie quarterbacks, when they're completed, his throws look the best. Like, they just look crazy.
I mean, he's talented as hell. I think he just needs to be refined. He doesn't have a stud option to really rely on consistently. Like, even if you put like an Allen Robinson on the Jets, I mean, that you can throw to him for 8 yards and he's probably going to catch it 9 times out of 10. Right. Yeah. I mean, if you had a guy like that, I know Crowder's been that way a bit.
Allen Robinson.
He's better than any Jets receiver.
He's better than any Jets receiver.
That dude's a fantasy dud, man.
Yeah, not because of his own doing.
I don't.
The Bears just don't throw the ball. But you know what I mean? Like a guy that you can rely on to catch the ball if it's thrown his way. If Zach Wilson has that type of guy, maybe they can add him in the draft this upcoming year. Get him a Chris Olave or something like that. That'd be nasty. I mean, he could be a game breaker for him. And if Michael Carter continues to progress, they might take steps in the next 2 to 3 years, but probably nothing substantial.
Definitely nothing substantial this year. Trey Lance kind of was, and I'm glad I didn't start him. I was actually really upset.
Trey Lance?
Yeah, well, it's because I didn't think Jalen was going to have a good game against the Panthers because the Panthers defense is good. And I was kind of right until like the last. He saved it again. Like I was getting pissed. I was like, dude, I had Jalen hurt and I got freaking Trey Lance on the bench. Like, but then Trey Lance, I think, it only ended up like 13 or 14. So it's like, it wasn't like a huge.
He doesn't even look comfortable throwing a football, man.
And he's hurt.
Yeah. I think they only said it's a week or 2 though. But it's still, I don't know if he's going to.
Yeah, isn't Jimmy G also injured?
Yeah, so I don't know what
are they going to do?
It's a bye week, so they got a bye week.
That's true. That's true.
They'll be fine. Jimmy G, but either Jimmy G or him will be back. But that kind of, I wanted him to do well because then it's like if he does well, then he's probably would end up starting and taking the reins, and then I could probably trade Trey Lance because there's a couple guys in my league that's got some dire situations with quarterback right now. Like the guy I played had Bridgewater, and I think the guy I'm playing this week has Russell, I think. So he's probably looking, and like you say, Darnold didn't look too good. I think he's on the waiver wire. So it's not a lot of guys that's, in the trade market.
Is our fantasy quarterback?
Yeah, he had him starting. I'm not sure who. I don't know who he had on the bench, but I was like, God,
that's struggling.
Yeah,
that's right. That's struggling.
Now Teddy did. If you look at his stats, he did come in. I think kind of like how Jalen did because he had like 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. But yeah, as your main starter, I wouldn't want him as your main starter.
No,
because he kind of doesn't have that ceiling.
His ceiling is 19 points, man.
Right.
Yeah,
I was gonna say his ceiling. He just doesn't have like the it factor. Where he can't.
Plus, he has no.
He has no.
They're all
playing pretty good.
They're all hurt.
Jerry Judy's injured.
Yeah. It's tough.
Tim Patrick I think he's a guy.
He's actually pretty
He put up,
decent.
he put up some.
He's
some
pretty
numbers.
good, actually.
Yeah.
Him and Cortland put up some numbers.
Yeah.
But no, I did want to shout out quickly. I feel so bad for the Detroit Lions, man. I just have to say that they're losing.
They find new ways to lose, man.
Dude,
that 2-point conversion was so clutch. I was like, oh.
It was unbelievable, man. I mean, like, look, they lose to Tucker on a 66-yarder, and then Greg Joseph comes down and hits a 55-yarder to win it when they're winning. Right? I think they were winning.
They were winning.
They were winning already. And look, man, they honestly might be the best winless team ever. Honestly, because they have some serious talent. Some of their wide receivers are stepping up from game to game. Goff's playing decently with what he has. And their running backs are good. And their defense is actually pretty decent. To the point where their coach was, crying post game about how he just felt so bad for his team.
Yeah.
Just to lose on those two insane kicks to lose, man. It's just
so funny, man. The Lions, man, because after that Lions 2-point conversion play, I'm like, wow, they're gonna get it done, man. This is fucking clutch. Like when they did the play call, I'm like, I like the balls. You guys are 0 for me. You guys 0 wins, man. House money, go for it. And then I'm like, oh, you got yourself a done. And I was like, congratulations. I even texted one of our good friends who's a Lions fan. I was like, oh, look at that clutch play. 2 minutes later, they lose. I was like,
jinxed it.
Yeah, you can't, dude. The Lions, I think honestly they have the curse of never forgiving Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, man. They never had any recompense with those two guys, man. It's just like the Billy Goat with the Cubs, man. You got to do something about it before they can turn the franchise around, because that is a sorry franchise and unfortunately just a sorry organization. But he's a good coach. I do like their coach. He's clearly getting
way better than Matt Patricia, dude, man.
Absolutely.
Matt Patricia. Oh my god.
So all I'm hoping is that their first win doesn't come against my Bears. That's all I'm hoping for, man.
Yeah, they're gonna be looking for
second game. So
they're gonna be looking
that's
for
all I'm hoping for.
My God.
One of the last topics I want to get into really, really quick. Just get a quick thoughts on the Raiders' potential new coach. Jon Gruden, for obvious reasons, was he actually resigned from his position.
Resigned.
Yeah, exactly. Resigned.
Pushed out
from his position. But I want to get the guys' really quick thoughts on who they think would be a good fit for the Raiders in terms of their head coach position. And people, you can start with this one.
This one's tough, man, because I think that I think they. Right, their interim head coach, I believe, is I forget his name, but he was their assistant coach. And supposedly, I mean, look, and I think a couple of guys said this on the post game, but they have solid coaches. I mean, they got Rod Marinelli on the defensive side, who's been a head coach before. Clearly his guys are buying into that defense. We've seen them, change pretty dramatically from last year. So I think that they'll end up probably just riding out the season. With interim head coach. It's kind of hard in the NFL versus like the NBA, to make a mid-season coaching change, unless Urban Meyer just decides he wants Vegas, like we were talking pre-production.
Yeah, I don't want Urban Meyer, man.
No.
Dude, he's a college coach, man.
Exactly.
Coach.
No, but I think that I don't, names off the top of my head, I can't really think of them, to be honest. But if you were to look at guys like who's the offensive coordinator on the Bills, the defensive coordinator on the Cowboys. Turning this around, we got the Panthers, possibly moving some people around. Any team that has really taken a jump this year that we've seen through the first 5 weeks, that guys are, when you have a good season, some of your assistants, they jump ship for the big job. And I think that we got to keep an eye on some teams as the season gets later and later, of who those teams could possibly be. But, initial thoughts, definitely somebody out of the Bills staff could be very possible. But I do know it will not be Steve Spagnuolo. That's all I'll say. It won't be Steve Spagnuolo taking over that job.
Man, Jon Gruden, man, QB
Horrible.
coach, ESPN dude, man.
Yeah,
got $100 million contract.
Talk about a finesse. Talk about a
finesse,
dude. He finessed a lot of people, dude.
My goodness, man,
Yeah.
$100 million. Like I think he resigned, which technically that means I don't think he's not guaranteed his contract if he resigns.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how they finessed that out. Like if it was Gruden's agent, be like, man, fire his ass. Must have to be like some morals clause,
severance
in there,
package.
Yeah,
Or maybe I
feel like there must be something like if you fuck up a lot, like you ain't getting paid, so he just took the resignation route, though, man. But bye Gruden. Hello, Eric B. Enemy, man. KC offensive coordinator. They need some offense, man. They need some offense. Derek Carr, he's an average quarterback. Like sometimes he actually like the comebacks, like he actually pulls off some pretty nice. He has some really nice moments, but Derek Carr average, man. He averaged. Like even the running back, Josh Jacob, he averaged too, man. That O-line, they average. Everything about the freaking Vegas Raiders are average. So maybe add a little B-enemy in there to spice it up, man. Maybe how the offense explode even more, because I think defensively, I give them a little above average for defense, man. So spice up the offense, man. Try to maximize Derek Carr and see what you can do with that, man. Because I don't know, Gruden, man, he was given a lot of years with the Raiders too.
Yep.
No playoff appearances. I
don't believe so. No.
So,
and even before that,
he didn't really do much. He didn't really do much. Like he won that one Super Bowl with the stacked team, but like he hasn't done much. So like, who cares?
He got that job solely off of his personality on ESPN. And you know what, Vegas, I think they kind of knew before, we're going to move him to Vegas. So it's like
the owner loves him, man.
Yeah.
Well, because his dad hired him the first time around. That's why.
Yeah. Wow. Rest in peace. But yeah, I think a couple of guys, Eric Bieniemy is a good name. I think Joe Brady's still young. He hadn't done enough in the NFL yet. I think if this was like his third year and Darnold had like a good year this year, still remains to be seen. He would be a good candidate because he just, like you said, he got one with Joe Burrow in college. Now he came to the NFL and got Sam Darnold up to speed. I think he would be a good name. I'm always going to trend towards an offensive coach because that's just how the game is going. I feel like the only way defensive coaches work is if you have like a mastermind as your coordinator, which is kind of hard to do because most of those guys are going to become head coaches. So those are two guys. And then in college, Lincoln Riley's a guy in Oklahoma. And that's just because he's really good with quarterbacks. Like he had Kyler, Baker,
all his dudes
Jalen.
make pro, man.
Yeah.
They all go pro.
Yeah.
Except Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, he got replaced by the guy. The true freshman he got replaced by is really good though. He's from DC. Like he's a stud. But he's really good with quarterbacks, and that's the name of the game. So he would be maybe a guy that would maybe want to make that jump. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Because like I say, I don't think Derek Carr is the guy. I think he has moments where he's really good, but I just don't think he's a guy that can get them over the top. And in that division, Herbert's not going nowhere. Mahomes is not going anywhere. And if Denver stumbles around and figures out quarterback, then you're going to be out of contention for a lot of wins in that division. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Vegas Raiders does. But a lot of great content, a lot of great stuff for Week 5. I think Thursday night. Who's playing Thursday night game? It's Eagles and Bucks, I think, that are playing. Not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Eagles and Bucks, which is if that's true, that's gonna be a really good game for me, fantasy wise, anyways. Because not gonna be able to start
Jalen Hurts time, baby. That's secondary, man.
That's secondary.
That's another nice secondary to play against.
Yeah. That's exactly why I want to play him. As long as he can get the ball off.
Yeah, and he'll be trailing the entire game.
So exactly. He'll be playing from behind. Quez Watkins, big day.
He's another God. If he could get, he's another guy. Like if he could get more targets, I feel like he could be a gamer because every time he has like he has like that 2 catch, 85, 90-yard game every game. Like if he would get more targets, because I don't know for the life of me why they keep going to Rager. Like Rager dropped one of the first balls that he threw to us. I was like, oh, like I was like, I don't know why they just don't put Watkins like right there behind Devonta Smith, but we'll see. Maybe he'll end up taking his more snaps from Rager. But it's going to be an interesting game, and like week 6 is just going to be more of NFL topics. And next week we're going to get in the NBA. It's going to be right around the start of the season, so I'll get the guys' predictions on who they think is going to be maybe the MVP, predictions on West and East champions, things like that. Potential trades of guys.
Ben Simmons, man, Kyrie, he's back with the Sixers.
He didn't want to lose all that money. That's what that is.
Unexpected.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
He already lost like $500 million though, man.
Chump change to him.
Yeah, I know, right? Easy money for Ben Simmons, but we're going to be talking about that. So it's going to be a lot of things we got to look forward to. As always, make sure you guys follow our page on bullheaded_pod. A lot of great content with NFL. Going to be doing NBA contact to kind of do the preseason, things of that nature. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the whole 9. Make sure when you get on any of those apps that you rate us 5 stars so we get algorithms up. And as usual, from me, Zulu P. Bush,